The holding cells of Detention Block 7 smelled of rust and fear. Nira pressed her back against the cold metal wall, watching the red emergency lights pulse in rhythm with her racing heart. Through the transparent barrier, she could see the other prisoners, 17 beings from a dozen different worlds, all waiting for the same fate. The Krell Empire didn't believe in quick executions. They believed in spectacle. "They're bringing them now," whispered Jalen from the adjacent cell. The Martian colonist had been captured 3 weeks before Nira, his crime the same as hers, refusing to surrender his settlement's resources to the Empire's war machine. Nira moved closer to the barrier between their cells. "How many?" "6 cubs. Maybe 7. Jalen's weathered face was grim. "I heard the guards talking. They're juveniles from the Emperor's personal hunting preserve. This is their graduation." The sick feeling in Nira's stomach intensified. The Krell Razorbacks were apex predators from a death world that made Earth look like a vacation resort. Adult Razorbacks stood 3 meters tall, possessed rows of serrated teeth, and could tear through reinforced steel with their claws. Their cubs were supposedly just as vicious, driven by instinct to kill anything that moved. The Empire had turned this instinct into entertainment. Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. Nira watched as a dozen Krell guards marched past, their reptilian faces impassive behind ceremonial masks. Behind them came the handlers, leading 6 young Razorbacks on energy leashes that crackled with each step. The cubs were smaller than she'd expected, roughly the size of Earth lions, but their muscles rippled beneath scaled hide, and their eyes gleamed with predatory intelligence. Each one wore a collar embedded with neural stimulators designed to amplify their aggression. "Attention, prisoners," announced Commander Vrask, the detention block's overseer. His translator chip rendered his hissing speech into flat, emotionless standard. "The 73rd hunting ceremony will now commence. You will be released into the arena in groups of 3. Survival time will be recorded for Imperial archives. May your deaths serve the Empire's glory." The barrier of Nira's cell flickered and died. She stumbled forward, finding herself herded with Jalen and a Centaurian engineer named Kos, toward a massive door that ground open to reveal an arena carved from black volcanic rock. The other prisoners would follow in waves, each group given just enough time to run before the next was released. Above them, viewing platforms held hundreds of Krell nobility, their mandibles clicking with anticipation. The cubs were released first. They bounded into the arena with terrifying grace, their handlers removing the energy leashes but keeping the neural collars active. Nira could see the blue light pulsing from the devices, driving the young predators into a frenzy. "Split up," Jalen hissed. "Make them choose targets," but Nira wasn't moving. Something about the cubs' movement seemed wrong, too frantic, too desperate. They weren't hunting. They were suffering. The neural collars were overriding their natural instincts, forcing artificial rage into young minds that weren't ready for it. One cub lunged at Kos, who dove behind a rock formation. 2 others cornered Jalen against the arena wall. But the largest of the cubs, a female with distinctive silver markings along her spine, stopped mid-charge and shook her head violently, as if trying to dislodge something. Her eyes met Nira's. In that moment, Nira saw past the forced aggression to the terrified juvenile beneath. She'd grown up on a farm outside New Melbourne, had raised orphaned Earth animals more times than she could count. This wasn't a monster. This was a child being tortured into becoming one. Nira did the stupidest thing she'd ever done in her life. She sat down. Cross-legged in the center of the arena, she made herself small and non-threatening. The silver-marked cub approached cautiously, her lips pulled back from rows of teeth that could shred Nira in seconds. "Hey there," Nira said softly, keeping her voice low and calm. I know it hurts." The cub's head tilted, confusion breaking through the neural stimulation. Nira slowly extended her hand, palm down, fingers relaxed, the universal non-aggressive posture that worked with predators from Earth to Alpha Centauri. "You don't want to do this," she continued. "They're making you, but you don't have to." Above them, the crowd's clicking fell silent. Commander Vrask's voice boomed over the arena speakers. "Prisoner! Stand and run or face immediate." The silver-marked cub's collar suddenly sparked and died. Later, Nira would learn that Jalen, brilliant, resourceful Jalen, had managed to scramble the collar's frequency using components from his stolen translator chip. But in that moment, all she knew was that the blue light flickered out and the cub's eyes cleared. The young razorback stared at Nira for 3 heartbeats. Then slowly, deliberately, she lowered herself to the ground and pressed her massive head against Nira's shoulder. The effect on the other cubs was immediate. Seeing their pack leader relax, confused by signals that contradicted their forced aggression, they began to falter. Jalen worked frantically on the nearest cub's collar while Koss did the same with another. One by one, the collars died. One by one. The exhausted cubs approached Nira. She sat perfectly still as 6 juvenile predators, each capable of ending her life with a single bite, curled around her like enormous scaled puppies seeking comfort. The silver-marked female rested her head in Nira's lap. Another draped himself across her feet. A third pressed against her back, his breathing gradually slowing from panicked gasps to normal rhythm. The arena fell into absolute silence. Commander Vrask descended from the viewing platform, his rage evident in every movement. What trickery is this, guards? Remove those prisoners and reactivate the— No. The single word came from High Matriarch Seskel, eldest of the Krell nobility. She rose from her seat, ancient eyes fixed on the scene below. The cubs have chosen, she said, her voice carrying across the arena without technological aid. Not in 50 generations have I witnessed this. The human shows dominance without violence, strength without aggression. This is what our ancestors possessed before we made weapons of our young. She turned to face Commander Vrask. Release them, all of them. But your eminence and the cubs have spoken. The human has revealed what we have become. Seskel's gaze swept across the viewing platforms. We have forgotten that true predators protect their young, not traumatize them. That honor lies in the hunt, not the slaughter. 3 months later, Nira stood in the rebuilt settlement on Jalen's Martian colony, watching the sunset paint the red landscape gold. The Krell Empire had released all prisoners from Detention Block 7 and outlawed neural collars on juvenile razorbacks. Some called it political maneuvering. Others saw it as genuine reform. Nira didn't care about politics. She cared that somewhere in the Empire's hunting preserves, 6 cubs were growing up wild and free, learning to hunt as nature intended rather than as weapons demanded. And she smiled, remembering the weight of that silver-marked head in her lap, and the simple truth that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when not to fight.